Brian left. Okay, we'll get back. We'll get him back in a second. He got disconnected somehow. Hey, Conrad, how you doing, buddy? Where are you?
Good. Ancaster.
Oh, are you in Ancaster?
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm in the kitchen in Ancaster.
There they are. Okay, we're going to get all sorted out here. So, hey, guys. Anyway, I just want to welcome everybody. Conrad Zerini, Remax Escarpment, Remax Niagara, Brian Hogbin with Mission 35 Mortgages, and myself here with Remax, the Golfi Team. So, guys, there's an article in the paper. Are duplexes making a comeback? Well, I don't know if they're making a comeback. Duplexes were always hot. But yeah, it's you got no choice but to buy a duplex to afford a house now. What's going on? Like Brian, first, getting qualified to buy a duplex, you have to put a little more money down. Am I correct? If you're buying it to move in, tell us the difference between buying to move in and buying as an investment. What's the down payment?
Yeah, so basically, if it's under $500,000, you can still buy an owner occupied duplex with 5% down. Right. So if you end up buying it for over $500,000, under $1 million, and it's owner occupied, like you're going to live in it and rent out half, you can buy it still with like 7% down. So if it is like 100% investment property, then you have to put down 20%. Right. But if you're going to live in it, and even if you got an in-law suite, duplex, triplex, you are going to live in it, and it has to make sense that you're going to live in it. We've seen people try to do crazy stuff before. Okay, but if you're legit living in it, yeah, you can buy it with 5 to 7% down payment. And you know what? The extra income, that can give you an extra 150, 200, 250,000 in borrowing power. Like that could take you from a 500 to a 700,000 or a 6 to an 8. It's a big difference.
Huge. Okay, so here's a question for the both of you. Now, I'm looking at buying a bungalow. It's got an in-law setup downstairs. I know I can rent that out, but it's not currently rented. I'm coming to you for a mortgage and saying, hey, I know I don't qualify with my income, but with this additional income that I propose to bring in, will I qualify? Or do you have to get what do you call it, a lease agreement in progress first before you buy it? Like how hard is it, and can you do it?
Yeah, so I think as long as it makes sense. So one of the things the lenders look at is they look at the house. So they say, is there a separate entrance, right? They'll appraise the property. Is there a separate entrance? Do you have a kitchen down there? Do you have a bathroom down there, right? If there's not a kitchen and a bathroom and it's a basement with concrete blocks, then probably not, right? But if you have all those things and it it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, if it makes sense like that, they'll use it. And what they'll use to qualify these days, each lender is a little bit different, but it's got to be reasonable. So what we've done in a lot of cases, you get an appraisal with what they call a Schedule A, and it'll give you market rents, right? Because if you're buying a place, it's not necessarily realistic that if I'm going to move upstairs and rent out the basement, then I'm going to rent it out before I buy it.
Okay, right? It's currently not a duplex.
So, if it's currently not a duplex, but it basically has the ability to be like an in-law suite, some lenders will use that income based on a market rent analysis. So they would say, what do basement rents go for in this area? Are they $1,500, $1,800? They will use a reasonable amount of rent to do that, even if it's not a duplex. But it has to be, in those cases, it has to be an owner occupied. That's typically where they'll make that exception when they say, okay, Brian's buying his first house. We understand he's doing the in-law. But if Brian's buying that as an investment property, they might take a different angle on it.
Okay,
but doesn't have to be legal, right? Doesn't have to be a legal duplex in that case.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it does have to have separate entrance, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Have to have all those requirements. It doesn't have to be legal.
Now, does it have to have a second exit, like a bigger window?
Yeah, so that's where you get into. So some lenders will actually ask for like a fire code retrofit. You know what I mean? They want to make it fire code compliant, right? So you want to make sure you know which lender is going to be asking, and a lot of times they'll be asking for that at the lawyer's office. So you want to make sure you know which lender wants that. Not all lenders will require that. Okay, to make sure you're supposed to have the entrance and then the window well or something, so you can
something they can crawl up.
Yeah.
Now here's the next big question, Conrad. Now I know you're up on every legal law and everything that's happening. This question: so, if can any house be duplex right now, without problems with the town, without the city? Like if I buy bungalow and I'm gonna turn it into an apartment in the basement. Do I like I'm going for the renovation permits, whatever. Can I rent that basement out, or do you have to apply for something, or do you have to wait for something? I know
Well,
they're coming out with all
yeah.
this stuff, like, because they want more housing and they need it.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, yeah, and I think people are jumping the gun on it. But I still think, you still got the building department to cope with. And again, going back to what Brian was saying, fire, like you just can't, it's a great idea. Like, I love this. And we talked about it on other shows. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have some sort of, there's going to be building code that you're going to have to deal with because that's just the way it is. You're never going to get away from that. Yeah.
The building
Yeah.
code, no problem. You got a second fire exit, like you made a larger window.
Well,
you know how they have
yeah.
these new big windows that you could put in the basement. That
Yeah.
no, but what
So-
I'm saying is, you do all that. Can they stop you? Say, hey, this is not a legal duplex. Can they?
I think
Are they allowing that yet in different?
I think once they allow, because I think you're going to have every single zone is going to be allowed to have a three structures or 3 units on a single detached lot. So when they make that change to the Planning Act, then all bets are off. As long as you can comply with the building code and all that kind of stuff and safety, you'll be fine. But that's not yet.
It's not, and that hasn't come into effect yet. Is that January, or is that's just
like they're dribs and drabs? They've just done a few things here and there. They just they're just look, you'll probably see some of that greenbelt stuff maybe into next year, but they're the stuff we're going to talk about in a minute, the development charge piece, that's all coming into play and very quickly.
Do you see impediment on that? Like, do you guys think there's going to be who would stop that? Do you think anybody's going to look to put like a stop on that?
Well, he's got majority, so that's why he's ripping through everything and going back on some of his, we'll never touch the green belt. So no, I don't see any impediment. I don't know. He might do something about that green belt piece, but I think he's going to forward the development charge piece, which, if you want to segue into that right now,
let's talk about it.
That's going to be so what's happened is a lot of the taxes are kept artificially low in Ontario because development charges, because cities just keep jamming things in development charges. And for the audience, so every time a home gets built, there's a certain charge for infrastructure. But what happens is over time, the cities got a little bit more creative and they said, you know what, we're going to need a fire station. So we want to put future land acquisition of a fire station for this area that's growing. We're going to put that in the development charges. But it really was about sewers and water mains and infrastructure. So they kept adding things. So now the province is peeling a lot of that back. So it's going to be a very interesting thing that happens. Like, I will say this, Grimsby right now, that area where all those condos are, I don't want to scare anybody, but they definitely need a fire hall in that area. And I've heard that could cost anywhere from $25 to $40 million by the time they get the land, equipment, staffing, and whatever. Now that's going to be on the backs of the consumer. So they're peeling away development charges. And the other little thing is, it's interesting. Most municipalities stockpile money for development charges because it's, a future water main or a future trunk sewer or whatever. So they use a portion. So most municipalities have a little stockpile of money, probably to the tune of $3.5 billion all over the province of Ontario. City of Hamilton has an $80 million deficit. so they're starting 80 million in the hole, where other municipalities may have 100 million, like a little hush fund, a little stash of 100 million, 60, 50 million. Hamilton's 80 million behind. So I'll tell you guys, it's going to be a very interesting phenomena when the rubber meets the road and they got to pay for this stuff. And they got to cover this 80 million deficit that they've already planned for infrastructure. So it's got to come out of the municipal taxes.
So you think that's just a threat? Like, I mean, like, that's going to be an extra $100. No, it works out to about $50 more a month per household, almost, doesn't it? Like, depending where you are and stuff like that. So it's an extra $600 to $800 a year per household.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think you think the municipalities are just threatening, scaring Ford, just saying, hey, listen, if you're doing this to us, we're not going to be able to. We don't have the money. We're not going to be able to do this. But aren't they going to get the tax money eventually from those households? Like, so I mean, it wouldn't offset that eventually.
Well, Well, but the problem is you got to remember the taxes. Like you think about it, like it's 50. Let's say it's for apartment unit, it's 35,000, 40,000. They get that big lump sum right at the beginning. The actual unit is like 2,700, 3,000.
Yeah.
Like you got to go 10 years to get that money, right? That kind of money.
Yeah, that's right.
That you get at purpose. So you got to remember they've been using it for a long time. Is it a threat? But you know what? That Ford was smart. He put in things about affordable housing, which some municipalities already have no development charges for affordable. So he's put in this affordable thing, and they say, guys, you know what? You want us to get rid of the affordable piece? Like everybody's screaming they want affordable. So it's going to be a tough time. Municipalities going to have a tough time. They better hire a really good PR firm when they say, well, yeah, like throw this away and get rid of the affordable no development charges. I think some not-for-profits are going to be pretty pissed.
Oh shit. So the one thing about this is that okay, they eliminate the development charges with these developers and builders. Do you think that savings will be passed down to the consumer? Not off the bat. No way.
No, but it would entice them to build more, though, wouldn't it? Because
it'll be affordable for them to build. It'll be affordable for them to build more, because sometimes a lot of, like Conrad, more developers and builders than anybody I know. But what I'm saying is they sometimes say, you know what, the development charges, you know what, I think I'm going to hold back and wait before we proceed with this project. This could probably fast track, and probably you might get more builders build on spec versus waiting for a sale. So you're getting things moving along. I don't know. Yeah. Like what's your thoughts?
No, I think you're right. I think it's a great question, because the thing is, it's going to be going back to affordability, right? So at the end of the day, if there's less being, and you know what, the developers always pass it on to the consumer anyway. So if less is being passed on, and they can maybe compress some of their margins a little bit to make it affordable, because guys, it's based on income. Brian can tell you, Rob, it's based on people's income. I don't know if you guys know, but there was a great thing that came in the paper today. 1 year ago today, 0 people had more than 30-year amortizations. No Canadian had an amortization over 30 years. Now, 31% of mortgages have an amortization over 30 years in 1 year, just because of the rates. So what's happening is, so already, so again, if we can peel back some of these costs, these artificial costs, quote unquote, make it more affordable. Yeah, like every townhouse that's built in let's say in Hamilton, for instance, it's $250,000 in taxes with all levels. When you look at development charges, parkland dedication, HST, and land transfer tax, it's ridiculous. $250,000 added to the property.
Wow. So the thing is, it's just, we have to do it. We have no choice. We've got no choice. It's got to be done. Doug Ford realizes it. You got to proceed with it, and that's all there's to it. So now, these development charges, for instance, are they there for building apartment buildings and like rental? They're there. They're all there. And
it's all there. Yeah, it doesn't matter what. Yeah. So, but the joke is, if you've built in an infill, all that infrastructure's there. That's what really builders say. Look, I'm building an infill site. I have to pay more money for the infill site because the land is more expensive, and the services are already here. Why do I have to pay? So there's always been this battle between municipalities and developers, and they go through it with a fine-tooth comb, all those charges, so the system was broke. It got way too far. It had to get reeled in, but unfortunately consumers either going to pay for it at the front end when they buy the house, or they're going to pay for it, long term.
So now Doug Ford's being aggressive. He knows it needs to be done, because we got 1.5 million people coming in to Canada. Is it Canada or Ontario? Is it
Canada?
No, we need to build 1.5 million.
We're short 150,000 units. That's what we have to build. We built 80,000 today, and we need to get to 150,000. That's the number.
So he's being aggressive, but right now some developers are pulling back because because of the interest rates. Nobody's buying. They're holding back. Say, hey, hold off. I'm backing up. So we're kind of locked in between like a no man's zone, where we need to build, but we can't build because the developers are saying, hey, wait a minute. The buyers are scared. They're not jumping in. So like we're kind of a little bit on a hold right now with development. Just
absolutely.
So how do we stir and get that back going again? Like,
Well, I think this is one of the catalysts to do it, right? Because in order to increase the whole supply, if you give the developer more incentive by decreasing the fees, then the businessman, woman developer is going to build more, right? And then that, ergo is going to increase supply.
but
right?
but
So
we're
I think
going to
that's
lose.
kind of
We're going to
the
lose
idea.
6 months. We're going to lose 6 months to maybe a year of pause on building. So we're going to be like right now we're at 80,000 homes a year, and we have to be at 150. Well, next year we didn't do anything this year. We're going to have to be at 160, 170 homes or even more to meet that demand that's going to come up the pipeline.
And think about this, like think about foreign people, like immigrants coming here, right? Well, now they can't buy houses, so that now they're not going to look at Canada because there's a freeze. So we're going to lose some of these skilled workers and technical people like that could have come, but now they can't buy because Canada is a place people like to buy property. So you're taking away an incentive. So the Fed's got to get like, to me, it's a trades issue as well. Like now we just
everything.
We took something away. Like we took a real carrot that people could buy in Canada, a stable market. Now they can't. So why would I come to Canada? I got to go somewhere else. And because where my trade is marketable, and we're just you're right. We're in Rob. You nailed it. We're in this real transitional time that something's got to give. It's very interesting.
And immigrants usually buy houses within 2 to 3 years because they're great savers. They're the best savers. They just lock down and just save their money and they buy. But it's crazy.
14% buy before they become citizens. 14%.
Wow.
That's gone right out of the market.
No kidding. See that?
Yeah.
Well, guys, listen, thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Guys, don't forget, Brian Hogben, Mission 35 Mortgages. He's looking for brokers that want to join his awesome super team. And Remax Escarpment in Niagara, they're always looking for people. Agents that want to sign up that has training. They have what else they got? Training, leads, whatever, everything. They got same thing with us. Anyway, take care, guys. Have a great weekend.
Okay, ciao. Thanks.